Hello and welcome to episode 19 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Burrell.
Hey, I'm Daniel Boone.
And I'm Locke.
You don't say your real name. And this week we don't have any too crazy class matches or like ridiculously like crazy raids or something to talk about, but we do have some units to catch up on that we haven't really talked a whole lot about. Rhaldor, I think at least two of us here are excited about. I don't know how Locke feels. Also a sweet MR unit for those of you who maybe want to get a new toy on a budget. And then also talk about a current tournament going on and an existential question. We're going to start with the existential question. Maybe it's not the right term, but this came up in the PvP server the other day, and it has to do somewhat with evaluating Rhaldor as a unit. This doesn't really necessarily totally factor into live PvP because hate isn't really a thing there, but what are your thoughts on what actually designates a unit as a tank versus just being a unit with some resistances or with some defense or with the paladin sub job? Like at what level do you start to call it a tank versus not? Is it a comparison to other units? Is there a threshold of something? Do you guys have any thoughts on that you've thought about? I'm assuming you guys saw the argument the other day in the PvP server about Rhaldor being a tank or not.
So I haven't seen that argument, so I will talk about this as fresh eyes.
All right, cool.
Okay. For example, I would think Cecil is a tank, even though he doesn't have hate. And the reason I would classify him as a tank is because he adds a substantial barrier that would enable his allies to take damage. Sorry, to not take damage, to live longer, to survive damage, right?
Sure.
And so that's like a cover tank. So that to me is a tank. I think somebody with like very high resistances by itself isn't a tank if they don't help other units to survive somehow. Adds barriers or defenses or something to them.
Okay.
Like for example, Agrius, I would say is not really a tank. I would say she is a bruiser. I mean, she has the taunting blade skill, but it's kind of hard to use unless you give her like revitalize to keep generating hate every turn. Then I guess you can kind of say she's a hate, especially in like arena matches and stuff. But I don't know. That's probably how I would classify it. I would say if a unit can substantially enable your other units to stay on the field longer, either by directly taking damage or by helping them to have more defenses or more barriers or something like that, I think that I would classify that as a tank.
So would you, this is obviously, I'm just trying to poke holes. Would you then call white mages with Mastery TMR tanks? Because if they cast Protect and Shell and then give barriers, they're letting the other units not die. And then obviously they can sustain through if somebody takes damage. So how would you sort of parse the difference between that sort of support versus like obviously the ones we traditionally think of like Cecil or other units that can provide barriers like that?
So I would take the TMR out of that equation because that TMR could be equipped by anyone, right? I don't have the
Sure.
TMR, so correct me if I'm okay. So if the TMR can be equipped by anyone, then just holding that TMR doesn't really make you a tank. So
well, that's my point, right?
Well, okay, but then anybody could be like, so if I'm just looking at a unit by itself and just their kit, then I would say this is a tank or not, right? Like I could make Frederica a tank with like giving her, well, I can't really, but just for the argument, I can give her that TMR to say she's a tank. But I'm just looking at a units themselves, and when you talk about like say Protect and Shell, I don't think it's substantial enough to like I don't think it substantially helps somebody to stay alive longer. So that's the reason why I wouldn't I would say it's a sucky tank if anything, right? Because like what is it, like 25%? It
25% damage reduction. Yeah. So it's either physical damage or magic damage.
And it's only for one unit at a time. So I don't so like to me that's not substantial enough that I would call it a tank.
Okay.
Personally.
Interesting. Okay. So can you give me an example of, say, 3 units besides Engelbert and Wall that you would call a tank?
Obviously, I would have to think about it. Well, Cecil is one. The other two, I don't know. I have to.
Would you consider Kilfei a tank? And then Rain.
So I could consider Kilfei a magic tank because of um, with that magic resistance buff, that's pretty substantial. Like if you're
Oh, the
only
buff. Sure. I was
fighting,
like, wait, what?
yeah,
Okay.
it's like plus 38%, which is
Yeah,
pretty big
that's
for
substantial.
three
Yeah.
turns. Like I've even tanked magic damage using Ildira as a main tank because she has the same buff, 38%.
Yeah.
And with that, like other units have taken like one, like so that the stage we were just talking about with Engelbert in the tower, using her magic resistance buff, I was able to get one unit to like 90% magic
Mm.
resistance. So in that
Okay.
case, she functions as a tank that enables everyone else to survive, right?
Okay. All right. So Daniel, will move to you.
So for me, I guess I don't know if I come from like a more traditional background or whatever, but I remember looking up quite a while back like what a tank was, um, and like coming from MMOs like World of Warcraft, like I was like a main tank over there for a while. Um, Honestly, in my opinion, like my definition of a tank is strictly in a PvE sense, like they manipulate hate. They take the aggro from the bad guys so that the rest of your party doesn't get hit. I mean, that's, and obviously they have tools in their kit to allow them to, you know, like not die once they get like the aggro. So, but and like obviously, as you guys have already mentioned, there's physical tanks, there's magic tanks, but so in particular the paladin job and the spellblade job. There's obviously like outliers like Rain, with his fire knight of Grandshell,
Mm-hmm.
with his astral guard and stuff like that. But so the paladin has taunting blade, it has stuff like saintly wall with the physical mitigation, and sentinel, immortal spirit, that kind of thing. Spellblade. I mean, we've seen like Freyavia in particular, but like also Ildira, like you mentioned. They
Lil
have
Leela
like
is surprisingly like tanky,
um
at least
oh
using
yeah,
the word.
regular Lily.
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah. Regular one.
yeah, so like they have like magic barriers, they have magic resistance buffs,
There,
that
yeah.
kind of thing to allow them, and obviously taunting spell for them um, uh, allows them to generate hate and keep the attention off of the rest of your party. So I mean that's kind of where I'm coming from that. So yeah, I mean technically like Kilfei is a tank if you spec her as a magic tank. Um, Ildura can do the same thing. You just like some units are kind of more invested in that kind of role than others, but depending on how hybrid of like how versatile their jobs are, like allow them to be as a unit. Um,
So two questions then. I think I'll start with the first one and then move to the second. So, uh, would you then say, since you're describing mainly about the ability to generate and hold hate, which obviously doesn't really apply to live PvP at all, unless
no,
you have like confused units or something.
yeah, there's
Um,
tanky versus tank.
right. It's like the quality, but see, then that's interesting because then if you have the qualities of a tank, it's like, well, there's qualities that aren't hate based, and it's like, well, what are those?
Yeah,
Um, I'm trying to not say my opinions yet, but
right, right.
would at what point would you say then in a PVE context, just to stick with your theory about hate and stuff, would it transition from a tank to a bruiser?
um, I would say a bruiser doesn't have the ability to draw hate or to generate hate.
Okay.
They can be tanky. They can have skills like the physical mitigation reaction, that reduces like a certain physical or magical or both, like Agrius has defend, which is just straight up like 30% chance to reduce 20% damage or whatever it was. And we've seen a few units have those that are both physical and magic versus like just like the 45% physical or
Yeah.
whatever. But I think that's the big difference is like if you can't generate hate and like keep that attention off of the rest of your party, then you're a bruiser rather than a tank, in my opinion.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with damage output, damage mitigation. It's just for you. It's completely the hate, like
Yeah,
that
because
role in like a typical RPG party.
yeah, because
So
generally tanks and bruisers have the ability to mitigate damage or to lower it. Basically, same difference.
so would you then also say that tanks don't exist in live PvP?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my initial thoughts on all of this. I typically think of a tank because of the term tanky, especially like when we describe a unit as tanky, it's their ability to mitigate damage, and that's basically it. Like the hate does factor in terms of being more of a valuable tank, but like I think of like going to Locke talking about an individual unit, it's their ability to mitigate damage to actually themselves is what I would think. So it's interesting. We have like a triangle of like slightly different views.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I was a little bit hasty because I've had this conversation like months ago. Like live tanks are still viable in live PvP, depending on the matchup, because of like charm confusion. Like when the auto AI takes over, tanks are viable.
Mhm.
But
Right. Yeah, it's a corner case for them. And then I think of bruisers as more of they've sacrificed some potential mitigation in order to deal more damage, but they have to still be able to mitigate some damage. So for me, an Agris is a Agris is a bruiser. You can make her a tank. Like there's sometimes I've seen like a 500 attack Agrius, but they just take like 1 damage because they mitigate so much. They spam Sentinel, they approach.
yeah,
Like I had a excuse me, my Agrius up to 70 defense in formation. Like she was taking 200 damage from like normal hits from stuff. It was dumb. And obviously you stack barriers on top of that. You put Sentinel pushes you up to above 100, so you just take 1. But her ability to both mitigate damage and then deal damage because you can just so for example, instead of the 70 defense build, I took Leona's Castle off and I put Valve Love so she could hold hate initially. And then she still has like 55 defense, which is still a ton. And then she barriers up or whatever, which is a further 50% reduction. And then, her life is great. So, like, I guess it does sort of. I think hate obviously is only useful on a tank. I would say is probably a fair statement. Like, you only want hate on a tank unit. But I think that you can be a tank. You can have tanky qualities without having hate
right.
generation.
Like Dwayne's a bruiser, not a tank. Like he's got the hate passive, which helps, but
right.
can't generate it anymore.
So Rhaldor specifically, it came up because somebody was comparing Rhaldor to Warrior of Light, and they were saying how Rhaldor isn't a tank, and the argument was it's because he deals damage. So the definition that they were going for was someone who deals very little damage but takes very little damage and sits in the front line, and that was like the tank definition. So I obviously I had some problems with that, but upon further investigation, which we'll go deeper into Rhaldor after this, but would you guys agree that Wall is a tank? Warrior of
Yes.
Light. Okay.
Pretty sure, yeah.
So yes, would he still be a tank without the hate generation, without taunting spell or his brave presence? Daniel, you say no just on principle, right?
Yeah.
And then you would say yes, Locke, because he can barrier buff people and
Yeah. And he has
the heal, yeah.
Yeah, I think he has another spell like on one of his subs, right? That because I always use him on his Warrior of Light subs. I don't remember, but does he have an AOE shield? I think he does.
He has Invincible Shield, which is a single target, like physical reduction.
Mhm.
He has,
But there's another one, isn't it?
Does
Because he
the
has Spellblade
Spellblade?
sub, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
Does
has
he have
Spellblade
the
sub.
magic up or magic resist?
He has magic resist, yeah.
Yeah, so I would still classify him as a tank, even
Okay.
without the hate.
Because the other thing too is going on the definition of stopping threats from getting to your other units or stopping your units from being harmed. He has Stop Strike too, so like he has the CC as well, which can be valuable for a tank. Because that's so. I guess a tank for me is a damage mitigating disruptive frontline unit. Like that's sort of like how I think about it. So Agris obviously I would consider can be a tank if you build her to be a tank, or she can go more the bruiser route, which means that you're using them, you're giving up some defenses for damage. I think that's kind of where I fall on it.
So Agris is like, as we were talking, initially I said Agris is a bruiser for me, not a tank. But then now I'm iffy on.
Well, because she has regen, she has the talisman,
does, yes.
so she can make her team mitigate against that. She
Yes.
has the CC to stop threats. She can hold hate.
And the other thing that I was saying earlier was that Agris isn't a tank because you need to give her like revitalized or he's a STMR to keep generating hate, but that would be the same thing with Engelbert too, right? But I definitely say Engelbert is a tank.
Right.
So then so at that point, so I'm like I think I would classify Agris as a tank as well. I mean, like you can build her as a tank, and at which point she would be a tank.
Right.
So
Yeah, generally you see like tanks, at least in War of the Visions, like the Paladin or Spellblade or whatever, it doesn't matter. They generally they have like a high TP cost
Mhm.
skill. Like Paladin has Saintly Wall. That immediately gets you to the enough AP to get to cast Taunting Blade in general cases with max
Yeah.
resonance and that kind of thing. Even with Engelbert, I know this because that's Engelbert is the one that taught me that back in like the first month or so when I was using him.
So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting discussion because what came of that was we started breaking down. One person was getting a little cheeky and saying something about like, okay, well this unit's a tank. Like Rams is a straight up tank. He can generate hate. Or like someone was saying like this. All right, well you can't talk about this. It's like boom, and it just kept going down the line of like ridiculous like corner cases. Like, well this person has this, so it must be a tank, right? And they're like, well no, it's like okay, well this person's a bruiser because this, and the definitions would never clear. But anyway, point is all of this is Warrior of Light. When you look at his base defense and his board defense and all that together, he has exactly one more defense than Rhaldor. They both have 12 defense passives, so he still only beats Rhaldor by one defense. But then his 3-turn buff is a +12 that generates hate and gives you spirit and defense, so it's more of a balanced. But Rhaldor has a +15 defense one, and that also gives him, I think it's damage. I can double check. Gives him 15 defense and increases his max HP by 20% for 3 turns, and heals that amount. So he actually has more defense than Warrior of Light. The only difference being Warrior of Light obviously generates hate, and Rhaldor would have to use his Taunting Blade to do so. But then also Warrior of Light has what's it called? The
Breath of Wind or Breath of Life.
technically Rhaldor has breathing technique, but not if he's on sub paladin. So
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't.
which is rough. No,
That's
so,
unfortunate. Yeah.
what was I? Where was I going with this? Defense high. Warrior of Light can wear armor, but Rhaldor only has cloth. So there's far less options for tanking because it's like what, platinum robe or bust, or like sacrifice a lot of actual flat defense. So the gear options are different, which has to factor in because like realistically you're going to have some gear on somebody. But at base, they're super comparable in terms of damage mitigation. So like once that part is kind of erased, then you start to look at hate and things and how easily can they do it. And that's most of the reason I think Wall took over for Engelbert, is that Engelbert has to spend like 44 TP or AP, and Wall just goes, do my thing whenever and walk out. Like, so
Exactly.
I think that was the biggest difference between the two units, because Engelbert
Yeah.
actually has crazy like pierce resistance, so he's a lot better against those types of units. I think he ends up mitigating more damage than Wall if he's like fully stacked out. He's just a little slower and has to work harder to do his hate generation.
Yeah, he doesn't have
And
the
less CC.
versatility and tools. Yeah.
And less to no CC. Yeah.
It's funny. What occurs to me that like strictly remembering like my like Final Fantasy 1, like Rhaldor is like the first like martial arts like master. Remember like the upgrade to monk? It was like martial artist or
Never
whatever.
played. I'm sorry.
Oh man. Just the kind of insane damage. Like he goes from being like really inaccurate and low damage to start with to like super high damage like once you like upgrade him and stuff. I don't know, Rhaldor kind of just reminds me of that original Final Fantasy unit. It's pretty cool. He can take a hit or two too.
Yeah, he's really cool. Any more thoughts about the tank thing? I just want to kind of discuss it. I didn't really want to like come up with a conclusion necessarily, because there are like all three of us have slightly different things we care about for
Yeah.
it. So
Mhm.
I mean,
I don't think we're gonna settle on one definition, but
I mean, in conclusion for me, I think Rhaldor is a tank. He's got the Paladin sub job. He can generate hate with the Taunting Blade.
he has
can
the ability to
mitigate
be
it.
a tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you spec him on Paladin,
But he's
yeah.
not necessarily at all times a tank.
Yeah, no.
So I have a so for example, if I look at Dwayne, like I don't think he is a tank. He's just buffy, but he has
Spicy.
he has quite a bit of defense. But in my team, I use him as a tank. First of all, he has a hate passive, but if you ignore that and say we put Wow of Love on him, so he only has 5 hate. that's enough for 3 hits, right? And if I'm using an arena, usually I only need him to take 3 hits. Like you know, he might die by then. I don't know, but like usually, if he's able to take 3 hits, my team is in position to do damage to everyone else. So if he's a warrior of light there, Dwayne or anyone, like if he's tancred there with with the Well of Love and he takes those 3 hits, he has done his job for me as a
Sure.
tank. So
Like identifying
like
your
I
role
wouldn't.
in a team, sort of thing. Like this is the tank
Right.
of my team.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he does the job of the tank. Like he does it as well as you need him to, right? So at that point, I mean, he's a tank.
that's interesting.
Although I wouldn't really say he's a tank, but he is a tank.
That's interesting that it's like the opposite side of my coin. So like I say it's damage mitigation of self, and for you it's more of keeping the rest of the team alive. But like
Mhm.
that also requires him to not take a lot of damage because he has to survive those 3 hits, or at least 2 of the hits to get the third hit in. So it's weird to like they're like all kind of meshed together, but like also different.
Right.
And then Daniel, obviously you disagree because he has hate +5 built into his kit at all times when he starts the game, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I think he's a bruiser plus because he has the passive,
Yeah,
but not being able to generate it is kind of what like for me like it's like cut and dry. There's no
sure.
like
Very traditional.
circumstances. Yeah.
You're the tank conservative. No, dumb term, but okay, that's interesting. So, okay, that's actually very different answers than I expected. So that was kind of cool. That wasn't, yeah. All right, any other thoughts about that before we go into Rhaldor? We can just go jump right into Rhaldor, like as a PvP unit. So, thumbs up, thumbs down on him being a unit in PvP, in live PvP.
I don't know because I looked at
Two of them even.
So,
He's like two halves. It makes a
I don't
whole
know
one
if
of
this
these ways. Hang loose. No. All right. So going down here, and there's probably more thoughts, but I'm just like thinking about more things I could add to the tank conversation. I'm trying to move on. Yeah. So he has agility wise 34 plus 18, so 52, but he has 8 on his board. So he's got 60 agility out of the gate. Obviously a little less than other people from bonuses like Scion or something because he's 52 base, but that's pretty high. Something interesting someone point out, his luck is pretty high. So not only will his accuracy be good, but he is so we have that ranking from Meow for evasion based on, passives on, passives off, your maxed out boards and this and that, add VCs. He is ranked next to Ziza for evasion.
Really?
Like I think they're like right, either tied or next to each other. Someone's saying his luck is higher than hers. But he also has the thief sub job with Shadowcast, which she also has. So technically, his ceiling for evasion is roughly the same, if not more, than Ziza's. Because if his base luck is higher, he'll end up with more luck after the cards are factored in. So that's really interesting. I didn't think about that. So evade Rhaldor could be a thing.
Yeah, he's number 22 right now.
Okay. Ziza was like
In terms of luck,
or 21 or something.
yes, Ziz is like 70 something.
7D?
Yeah, she's like way down there.
Oh, really?
Let me check real fast.
I'll
Yeah,
send
76.
for luck only.
Yeah.
Oh,
In terms of luck,
not for evasion.
Ziza's base is like 160. Actually, I don't think this is base. I think this is like total. But total, she's at like 164.
Okay.
Whereas he's like 208. 208, yeah.
Yeah, he is at 148 base, but he has plus 60 from his board. He's just like flat 60 luck. Here you go. Wham bam. Yeah, Dex is sort of up there, and he has a lot of accuracy passives. He has a lot of those dual passives, so it's like defense and HP 12, HP 12 and attack 24%, move 1 and agility 12. Then he has acquired AP, but I honestly don't think you're ever using that except for very niche like box event type situations where you need to have certain AP values. Maybe you use his counter one if you're just going full anti-evade, but even then, I feel like you get way more value out of the other things. So lots of interesting ways to build him. Daniel, yours is way more developed than mine. So if you want to talk about how you've been using him, how he feels so far, I assume you haven't done much PvP with him yet, but
Not yet. I've been too busy working on resonance and affinity and stuff. Like it just like I really love Locke's perspective on like tossing in your units at like 79, 89, like building your your own affinity with these units. But like honestly, like he's already level 89 for me, and he doesn't even have like his first Esper built yet. So like and I mean in terms of resonance, obviously. So like
Locke
I want
also
to
has used a 5 resonance Esper before, so I don't know, man. That
yeah
doesn't sound like an
yeah.
excuse to
So
me.
for me, like I prefer to have at least like one
Yeah,
Esper
no, I
like
got you.
maxed
It's
to
cool.
just go for the win or whatever. But honestly, like yeah, I think probably one of your biggest decisions is like what passives to use on him. Like if you're going evade Rhaldor, which like I think is a thing, like you don't need to worry about things like defense or HP. So the flurry enhancement increases your accuracy against like a dodge team on the other side. Thief lore for getting like 4 base and up to 5 with like a buff, for that gap closer, especially with his gap closing skill. Um, as opposed to obviously if you want to go like tanky Raldor, you'd want to stack HP and defense for his warrior spirit and holy knight's protection passives.
I mean, you're still
But
using
yeah,
Thief Lore as a tankier unit, though, right? Because you want to
what's
get.
that?
I said you still use Thief Lore on, though, even if you're trying to go like Paladin sub, right?
Yeah, like so God, Thief lore is
So
such a
be
great
yeah,
passive
Thief
to
Lore
use
plus
on.
Holy Knights is what I would think.
Yeah, that's what I've been using mostly, just but for the PvE content that I've been doing, building his resonance and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like having that additional mobility, I mean, that's the reason why people still use Mont over Engelbert. It's like he has move 4, like get that much closer
Yeah.
to the front of the battle. And obviously the agility from Thief lore. I mean, it's plus 12% for 52 base is what you said. So it's still
Yeah,
like
so
whatever
he gets
6-ish.
5, and then if there's other percents adding in, I think eventually he'll hit 6 on the
Yeah.
12%. I could find the breakpoint, but
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting things about him is like how you plan out his passives, and everything else kind of just like falls into place. I think he's one of those units that are like versatile depending on how you want to use him, but he's not like quite as versatile as the ones that are like you can use any 3 of these jobs depending on the situation. Like his main sub job, like all you get from it is like the self heal for 30% and the amazing attack debuff. But that's pretty much it.
it is a pretty big tech debuff, to be fair.
And if anybody is not familiar or aware, when you reduce like stats, it's base. So it's like if you get like up to 5 attacks on him, like he can reduce your base attack by 79%.
Fun fact: he actually gets 6 agility from Thief Lore. It's
Nice.
6 to start. I didn't realize that.
Okay.
If you go up to 13%, which would be with guild statues, right, is +1. And we've talked about this on a previous podcast. We figured out that when you're actually, it doesn't show in formation, but when you're in the match, the game will calculate your agility bonus percent based on a sum of the percents and then multiplied by base instead of being individual buffs. So the one agility from, I think it's a lion statue or whatever, actually does something if you hit that breakpoint of it, pushing your decimals high enough from your total. So yeah, with the statue, you're at 6.76. So I think you have to hit, what, 14? Yeah, so once you hit 14% overall, he'll get another agility. But, I mean, let's say we have Scion on the team, right? So it's the 12% plus the
15 from
12.
Sion.
Or, yeah, 12 plus 15, sorry. So it'd be 20.27? Maths? Yeah. That's plus 14 agility, which is quite a bit. 14.04, so round down to 14. He could be pretty fast. And yeah, you put that on top of his paladin and he's sitting in there,
Yeah.
he's sentineling and then running up to you and then taking another turn like
Yeah.
on pace with other DPS units.
Like I've been
pretty
telling
cool.
people recently, like with Elda being used more with this brutal stage, like you can get Elda to like 90 plus agility, and he has like what does he have in terms of like agility up?
Nothing really.
Like base stats, like hooray. So yeah, I fully expect to be able to see like Rhaldor like hit 100 in terms of agility, like if you really max him out for that, or even more depending on like what your vision card is and
Yeah, I
that
mean, even
kind
if
of
we're
thing.
at that 14, right? And he's at base 60 plus the 14, assuming you have an agility card, the 15%, that's already
Gear.
74. Then if you give him, I mean, easy mode is just give him Odin and then like
Yeah.
Yep.
affinity and
exactly.
I guess, but
Yeah, so
some
like
kind of
he can
gonna fight each
definitely.
other. Yeah.
So like having him like tuned out for like agility as well as being like an evade unit, as well as having like a move buff. Like if you give him 5 move, evasion, and like use his gap closer, like he can be up in your face doing these like high damage like melee skills really quickly. And
I I
I'm really happy about his 2 base jump.
I think yeah, that's another big part of him because so he goes up to 4-2 with Thief Lore. Now you were just talking about the dash ability. That's range height 1, which is pretty useful. I think he's gonna be a really exciting double quicken unit as a good target because he has fair amounts of accuracy, so you might actually be able to handle evade teams. I don't think he has
Yeah.
guaranteed. If he's on sub thief, he has a guaranteed hit with
Yeah.
sneak attack from behind, so that could be a thing. And with the 4 movement, you can actually walk up to a unit and then walk around them, so that's cool.
And failing that, just double steal vision, just to like
Yeah.
guarantee you're not getting hit without a guaranteed hit.
Right, and then pugilistic mastery, like he can do his defense penetration 20 and strike attack 40. Like, excuse me? Like we've seen how powerful aimed fire is on missile units with like Frederica and Ivlu. It's plus 38, and that's a ton. This is
Firing
40.
stance.
Like, this is insane. Yeah, firing stance. Did I say missile mastery?
Aim fire is just the range buff.
Aim
Oh,
fire.
fire. Oh, okay.
Oh, is it missile attack up
No,
too?
it gives you missile attack as well
Oh,
of
okay.
38. And
Yeah, I thought
fire
it
stance
was.
gives you 40.
Look at me being familiar with Frederica.
Yeah, firing stance is the dual gunner one, right? That gives.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm used
Okay.
to.
Fuck you, Dan. No, I was kidding. Tell me I'm not. Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool. He obviously has a strike resist imperil on his limit burst, meaning minus 38%. Now, here's the other thing. Tell me how you itemize against him.
Actually, can I ask you a quick question real
Good
quick?
luck.
What is
Defense,
his
right?
resistances?
All right, so here you go. 5 to slash. So, 15 to pierce. Neutral to strike. 20 to missile. And then negative 15 to magic. And he has 50% stop and confusion resistance. And 10% disable.
Literally every status condition that Agrius can do.
Well, except for silence, but it doesn't even matter.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
who cares?
Right.
I mean,
Okay,
he can't
interesting.
wear the Veil Burgonet or Burgeonet or whatever, but
Unfortunately.
he still gets that 10% disable resist to make that even harder to get off.
Yeah, so it's a
and-
15 times.
And it's not like your 97 faith.
Yeah.
Rhaldor.
I don't think he has a single status effect, right? Or he has confuse and snipe dagger, and that's it.
Yeah, I think there's.
Oh, and
one
blade bash.
more.
Blade bash.
Yeah.
For stun. So yeah, he's gonna be 50 faith in case you want to use bells. 30 if you think you're never gonna put bells on him. So yeah, completely agree with that.
And that's like another cool thing is he has enough TP generators or like AP generators to like you don't need bells on him. You can. Oh man, if only he could use the Alto and Apron. But just imagine having like stacking that.
Well,
defense
I mean,
penetration.
yeah, because his 2 buffs are insane. His first buff is the 15 defense and 20% max HP and HP gain, which is like that's way higher than Divine Grace, right? I don't think Divine Grace is that much.
I
Oh,
think
it
it's
is
equal
actually.
to
It is
it.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's
interesting. But you also get the defense.
Elda's TMR is 35%, which is just
Okay.
amazing for Drain Force.
Yeah, so he actually has Drain or Divine Grace and that, but it's only for himself. But then he has Pugilistic Mastery as his other one, and these are 20 and 30 TP respectively. He has a 2-time use 30 TP giant offensive buff. And then yeah, if you put him on Paladin, he gets infinite things, right? He's got Saintly Wall, Divine Grace if you really need to, Saintly Healing if you really need to, but then also Sentinel. If you're on Thief, he's got Shadow Cast, Steal Time, Steal Vision, like all those good things. So yeah, all of the AP all the time. And as we were just talking about, he can be beefy or tanky, whatever term you want to use. So he has the time to set up a little bit. And then yeah, if you pair him with a healer, I mean, yeah, lower faith means less heals, but he's also not taking a lot of damage. So I imagine you're just gonna see him on Paladin. He's gonna Saintly Wall, walk up, Pugilistic Mastery, get quicken and kill you, or something like really cool.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was itemizing against him. Like, what are we gonna do? +5 in Mithril armor? Nobody's +5ing a platinum armor. I'm sorry. Like, unless they're hacking the game, that's impossible by now.
Yeah, +2 by now.
Yeah, +2, maybe +3 if you like some crazy you've
Raplo.
never lost or yeah. But I don't see there's no what's the strike there's no strike resist card either. Like for some reason that cycle is like Behemoth, Iron Giant, Cleansing, and then Marlborough with strike attack, instead of strike
Yeah.
resist, and there's no strike resist card.
There's like an SR, like strike resist +7 or 8 or whatever. Like,
Is there?
woo.
What is it? Do you have any idea what?
It's I don't know. I can't remember if it's Sanctum or no. Sanctum is the accuracy. I can't remember which one. It's not really relevant. You're not going to use that if you can use like Leona's Castle unless you really need
Fair.
that strike resist for your party.
Well, now I'm curious because I was under the impression there wasn't a strike resist card. Ogre. So yeah, it's 7% strike resist to allies, but you lose 5%. You lose 5% agility though, and you got some petrify resist. Actually, that's our card with 109 base attack. Ain't half bad, but
I do want to bring up something else though. Like once you finish your thought.
Sure, you can go for it now.
So yeah, I mean, you probably you're going to see most people run Paladin for just like being able to add to his versatility. But one of his, I don't know if it's a glaring weakness, but one of his obvious weaknesses to me is Ildira. He has a magic resistance, like vulnerability. You know, she's water. She has high magic. Running evade Rhaldor kind of takes care of that because Ildira has generally like bad accuracy, right? So like there is a case for evade Rhaldor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, even if he's on evade, you're gonna have him on thief. You're gonna make him shadow cast and stuff, especially on manual, right? So you shadow cast early, then he still has those resistances. He can still buff defense, and it's not like Sentinel where it like tanks your evasion. So yeah, it seems very good. Like seems pretty versatile. There's no real reliable way to build against him. I'm not aware of a passive that increases strike resist. Like Thancred has like the pierce and the missile and whatever. Other units might have other specific resistances, but there's just nothing for strike. And what are the espers? It doesn't like Shiva have strike resist or something weird.
Yeah, Ramu has strike resist.
That's pierce on Shiva. Oh, good to know.
Yeah, Golem has pierce resist as well. I think one other Esper that I use normally has strike resist that I've just never bothered with.
I think Behemoth.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
I think so. I think it's 15. Yep.
But I don't know. I was thinking in terms of URs. But yeah, Behemoth has an MR obviously.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, seems very hard to itemize against. Fairly decent output. Multiple roles. He seems like a lot better than what we've been sold from other. I remember just seeing JP. I never saw him anywhere. I never saw many videos about him. Is like Mation pulled for him because he's a Kraken, and he wanted to like put out content for it. But I've never seen him really use it since. Also, he murders Agrius. Like,
mm-hmm.
Like obviously the barrier's a good thing, right?
So Sandy is the only thing keeping him back from murdering Agrius.
And Sentinel.
His defense penetration just takes care of that, really. But that's just the Saintly Well. Like he doesn't have like a 3-hit attack or whatever, and that's literally the only thing keeping him from taking care of her.
Can't have it all, man. Actually, technically, doesn't his response his counter hits twice?
Yeah, but you got to be like right next, and she's got her range. But like, I was watching videos like earlier today of Rhaldor just like popping off in arena, and like he's doing like 5-6K damage to her, unless she has Saintly Wall on, and then he was like 2K or something.
Right, because defense penetration goes really far against stacking defense, and there's no way to stack resist right now. So yeah, seems pretty good. And again, the ability to actually approach and not die in like one hit is very good.
Yeah, it was like kind of perversely entertaining to watch Agrius get one shot. Like she's at full life, and then bam, she's dead. Just pretty cool.
The true one punch man. So Locke, I know you haven't really used him or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, like I think he's the first real offensive strike unit, which should generate a lot of buzz. For some reason, it's not, but it should. I think. I think that's good. The reason I personally didn't really go for him is just because I don't have any more built up saved Vizier, and Agrius is always a problem for me, but I already invested in Lortha, so like you have to make choices, right?
Yeah.
So I picked Lortha, so that's why I didn't. But I think if I would have picked him over her if given the choice now, but you live with what
that's a powerful statement, because I think Lortha's really good. One other thing real quick. Locke, I think you'll like this. I don't know if you saw a conversation the other day. He has an ability called Demon Purger. So Demon
Okay.
Purger is a 210% mod, which is huge. Only range 1, and 20 AP is quite a bit. But the damage modifier increases by 15% for each time you've received damage in the match.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I've seen his skills. It's really interesting, and I really like his counter as well. His counter with this passive increase up to 50%,
mhm.
right? And like I think it's a very cool unit. It's just
But
another damn
here's what I was gonna
unit.
say though:
Yeah, go ahead.
is you can quad shot your own Rhaldor
Mhm.
to get that up to a 270 mod, like off the bat, and then just go like one shot somebody, which sounds like a blast. I don't know if it's not gonna be good because obviously he has to survive the quad shot, so that means you either have to have like a no weapon support Lucia, which is bizarre. Oh wait, Monk Lucia. Here we go. No weapon Monk Lucia. Let's do it. No, but more seriously, there's interesting things like that you could do. I don't
Mhm.
know how many units have like. Are there units that have, for example, like Mish is a magic unit, obviously not very relevant, but very low attack, but has a sub job that does physical damage. Is there a unit that has like a high multi hit ability that builds the opposite damage? So like, say it's someone with dual gunner for some reason, but they are a magic unit. Is there anyone like that that could like do no damage to him and quad shot to build it up that you can think of?
Rain?
Yeah, think it. Rain. Does Knight have a multi
I was
hit?
thinking of like soul prominence or whatever.
Well, I would just murder his face though, right? Because
Yeah, the
because Rain is
magic
a magic
damage.
unit. So yeah, so what I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
is
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
he could have slash resist, you know,
fair, fair.
because yeah,
Anyway, that was just thought. So like if there was something like that where you could actually hit your guy a couple times, I guess you could like staff bash it with Ayaka or something too, or
Yeah,
Leela or
you could do
something.
that
You
with
just like do it in your
yeah,
approach and like you just hit him first and then he's saying the walls and walks
yeah.
up and he's already got a 15% extra damage on his ability. He takes
I
another
don't.
hit while he's approaching, takes another hit while he's approaching. Now
Yeah,
he's up to plus 45. It's
yeah.
255. Like that's already 20 25% more mod than like a jamming thrust. So it's huge damage.
yeah.
I would. I would say that like I don't really think we're gonna see people trying to set up like micromanage the whole. I'm gonna use my caster to staff bash this guy before he
Have
goes
you
first.
met me?
No, what? So like I would rather picture this scenario. Picture CM4 people rushing missile teams with like Victoria and Venera. Rhaldor fits that bill. He can be one of those units that does that. He's got the jump for it. He's got the possible move for it, and he's got the missile resist for it, especially if you build him that way. And just the fact that like if you try to deny him his advance, he's going to get more powerful as
Yeah.
you try to like shut him down. And just like the thought of that, just like that steam engine just like rolling towards you. It's just like I don't know for that's just like really appealing to me in terms of rushing missile teams. You know,
No, absolutely. That's cool too. Then
especially
now
with
we have a
Yeah,
fire unit with the fire like buff to the whole team too. I think he's the first, right? I can't think of another unit that. Or just
Mashri.
Luartha? Oh, Winter Mastery, right? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, as a unit, I think it's very powerful. I think it'll be hard to kind of shut them down, just because of that missile resist, especially because I was thinking, one way to, it's hard to gear against him, but you can kill him first, right? But
Right.
like it seems like well, if he's built for evade, it's going to be hard with Ildira, but Glaciala might make a comeback for those people that have built her to try to take him down,
Right,
because she
because
does have that guaranteed
he's
hit.
yeah, and he's
Yeah,
neutral to strike too. So is the her
no.
guaranteed hit a spear move
Striker
or is
or
it strike?
it's a
So
spear move.
Okay.
I'm glad that you brought that up too because that was going to be another thing I was going to talk about. Besides the missile resist build, like he has a native 15% pierce
Mhm.
Oh,
resist.
okay.
So like if you build him for pierce resistance, like that also kind of I don't know if shoring over that weakness is like the
It
proper phrase,
helps. I mean, he
but
still
like
has water
he can,
disadvantage, which sucks, but
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, like we've seen, you guys have seen like Glaciella take like less than 1,000 damage from Orlando, for instance, right? Because of
mhm.
like 85 like slash resistance.
Oh, fair,
Um,
yeah.
this is a kind of an instance where like you would expect a unit to be countered by his opposing element, especially with like a hyper carry like Glaciella, but like he can surprise people by just like how little damage he can take from her.
Well, isn't she also super resist or super weak to strike?
I didn't check.
I forget, or am I thinking? I might be thinking of her against Rain because Rain is really weak to strike. Which, by
Rain
the
is
way,
weak to strike. I'm not sure about
he would
Glaciella.
mess Rain up. But yeah, Glaciella is she's neutral. Like, oh, I guess it's missile that she's really negative to. Okay, never mind then. Yeah, I think he's a really cool unit. I think he's gonna be a lot better than people expect, and it's gonna surprise some people when they see him pop up either in live PvP or like top ranks of well, maybe not arena so much, but especially in PvP. I think it's gonna be.
And I think if people care about the next CM, I think he'll be a very powerful unit, especially because the next CM, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you get 50% resist to missile and magic.
Yeah.
So
that's what we're expecting.
It's made for strike.
As long as we don't get like a redo like we did with CM2.
Right. Which I'd say I almost wouldn't mind that. Kind of like the last CM, but
yeah, no quicken or no magic or missile attack up.
Yeah, right.
We win with either one.
Yeah, right. Okay, so moving on to the unit that accompanied him, Elshra. So this is an MR unit. She's a time mage with a sub white mage, so she's already got those Phoebe vibes. And then she also has Rune Knight, which is, I think she's the third unit with Rune Knight now, after the Howlet and Ryryu as main job Rune Knights. Correct? I don't think anybody else. Oh, or wait, no, Liviel. Does Liviel have? She's black mage arithmetician. Liviel, I'm checking. No, cleric.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's inarguably the worst job, but anyway, I'm gonna get probably be comments about that, but what do you guys think of her? Did you pull for her at all, or you just kind of skip her? Because I mean, we have anniversary coming up, so like pulling for an MR now feels kind of rough, especially if you go 22k like I did for Shell. And I didn't. Yeah, I did the step up, the 9 step up plus the first pull of the Rhaldor step up, and I didn't get her, so I was kind of disappointed about that. She's not right up there, but you know, she's still an MR. So anyway, yeah, thoughts about her? I know Lazarus, previous guest of the podcast, our kind of JP contact, he used her in the upcoming class match and did really well with her. So
I'm really impressed with her. I think she's probably one of the most useful MR units in the MR roster, mostly because of just how much accuracy you can stack on her. So like she can fit on like an evade hunter kind of team. Like I think I saw like plus 60 accuracy, plus 75 accuracy. I can't remember like just how much you could stack on her, but it was sizable. I mean, and that's just like without a buff or something.
20 from her passives or something, or
20 from passive, the Rune Knight one that gives you 40 Spirit Pen and 20 accuracy.
Oh, okay.
Then her master ability is plus 15 flat and 20% magic, and then she gets the light party thing.
Okay.
And then her, I think, do Rune Knights get a ability that increases his accuracy temporarily? No, it's just a slash resistant magic.
So I kind of see her as like a magic based Mustadio. Like you're not going to see them really miss that much. And like I'm a really big fan of the Rune Knight job. So seeing a magic based unit like that with that like high accuracy, as well as like the usefulness of her other jobs like time mage and white mage, like when you're not quickening somebody, you're hitting the team.
I mean, her main job is quick and stop meteor. Like, sick. Meteor's at 220. No one ever uses Meteor. I think it's because, personally, it's because I used Meteor on like Phoebe, and Phoebe's accuracy was absolute dog shit, so I would miss it all the time. But on a unit that can actually hit people, it's a 220% mod that's non-elemental, so like no one's resisting it except for the magic resist. So it's actually an amazing offensive ability. And then yeah, stop is obviously good. Quicken, we know that does.
She's a light unit, and we know light units like are going to be a thing soon.
The only bad part is her sub job has haste, but like that's all time mage main job. So that's like the biggest dock against her, because the stuff we want her for, which is like the Rune Knight DPS or the white mage support, she doesn't have full life though. It's just a lot of heals. She can't do haste during that, but I mean,
and I think the last kind of little bonus for her is like her TMR. Yeah, it's a rod, but it's another source of JP up. Like
it is.
I mean, if you're trying to increase like Black Rose Helena's like JP, I mean, put this on her. obviously boost it even more.
With Black Rosalno, what do you mean? Like when she comes out, you mean?
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah,
she comes up, yeah.
months, months and
Yeah,
months
yeah.
from now,
When you're and
when you
Yuna
actually have the
and
chance to build
I was
Osha.
like, damn, there's other staff people before that. But no, yeah, I completely agree. She's seems like a very good unit. Her basically the only like awful thing about her is her HP pool. Like she's made of actual paper, but her agility's
Yeah,
not bad. Her luck's a little low as well, but the flat accuracy makes up for it.
I think
Uh,
that's one thing I like about
and
Halloween My
high
Ryu
magic.
and how I miss like, oh, I didn't get him. Like Rune Knights, tr- they they don't really have much in the terms of survivability. You have to struggle to keep them alive when they're taking hits.
does she have high dex and luck?
So luck not super high. Dex is I'm sorry, Dex is lower. Luck is okay, but
Okay.
it's her flat accuracy supposedly makes up for it. So I'm looking at her her stats from her like she has 204 base magic. Her board gives her
Okay.
131, and her master gives 40. So she has 383 magic out of the gate, which is massive. Obviously, the base isn't as high, so it's not like Rairu has like 308 base. So when you
Mhm.
drain Evo with that, he gets plus 308. She'll get 204. Still a lot of magic. On top of she has 58 base agility, so she's like Dwayne, or is Dwayne 55? I think he's 58, right?
58. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway,
Dwayne is
so
58.
she's fairly fast for especially for an MR unit. It's just her HP's
Mhm.
super low. Yeah. Anyway, really cool unit. Definitely if people want like a cheap toy to play with now and pull for, and like you're gonna just wait for unit again, she could definitely be an option for a new character.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I didn't pull for it is because I also didn't pull for Rhaldor. But if I see her as a very direct upgrade to Phoebe, which makes sense
Mhm.
because they both have the same very similar job. But obviously she can be a lot more offensive as well. I think starting with Gilgamesh, any time mage that can function as a DPS is great because he's the classic one, right? And that's why he was so good. Before that, you had like say Phoebe that you would bring, or even like Miranda, but Miranda was a bit more offensive. But classically, you would have Phoebe who was just there to quicken and haste,
Miranda was a
and then
time mage with jamming thrust and an LB.
yes, yeah. Um, yeah, but Gilgamesh really was usually the scary one where it'd be like he does a lot of damage and he can haste and quicken. So anytime I see other time mages that kind of fit the similar role, like Nivlo for example,
And Niblu,
that
yeah.
comes with that you can also build offensively, I think is a great unit. So in that capacity, I can see her being very 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 good, especially as an MR unit who's cheaper to build. I think that's very good, and also because she has that Rune Knight sub job, she will also have slash attack, like slash magic attack, which you have a few options, but it's still relatively scarce.
Yeah.
Scarce. So for those reasons, I think she's good, and she also has that light mastery. If you're gonna combine her with like Sakura or Yuna or whatever else down the line. Um, in regards to her accuracy, though, so I've been fooling around with this team in match battle where I increased Ildira's accuracy very very high. So I had somebody else holding the Blades of Grass card. I had herself; she was holding the little Leela VC, which gives 25 to the overall boost, and then I was using another VC that didn't give any accuracy, but I gave her like what else did I give her? The aim
Aim ring.
ring. So the lowest I would ever hit somebody from the front was a Venera, which had like the evade buff, and she would hit for 71%. So you can build like I think you can build anybody to kind of like if that's the only thing you're doing, I think that can work. So you can stack enough stuff on her to make her an evade hunting machine like that. But then you have to give her the proper VCs for it, right? Like you can't expect her only her passives to take care of it because unless I gave her like she basically like Ildra has plus 50 from VCs and then plus 40 from her from her aim ring and then whatever plus 7 and so on from espers and things like that. But you have to build a character like that. You can't
Yeah.
just be like plus she has plus 50 accuracy, so she's gonna kill evade. It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. You have to
Right,
actually
right.
build it.
That's a good
So
perspective, I think. Like managing your expectations there. Like I definitely think Ildira has like the base like magic damage that where you would want to like add all that aim stuff on? Like, where did you use two-headed dragon for the accuracy as well?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
I, I just used Diablos.
Okay, gotcha. Um, whereas I see like Elshra has like the base accuracy where like maybe you can afford to like add like the magic later or whatever with VCs and espers and
A
stuff.
lot of magic anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a give and take though, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair. Sorry, I was just looking at the other stats on it. Yeah, no, I think she's an excellent unit.
I think the last thing I want to mention is that I don't really think there's very much light and peril available right now. And she has, in her rune knight subjob, she has the light break rune, which imperils light. So I think
Oh, right, because she's
also
Rune Knight sub. That's right. So
she's
she actually has that.
so she can also be useful in like a raid environment or like
And she
any
has
kind of
slash.
PvE.
She can chain with slash too with like banish.
Yeah,
She has
and
banish
like
blade.
slash penetration. So I think it's not just for like evade hunting that she's useful.
And hazard spell too. So she has the self buff for 50% magic. She can do drain evo for 100% magic. Then she has just the hazard version of nuke somebody. Yeah, actually, all 5 of her sub abilities on Rune Knight are great. That's insane. And yeah, the light resist definitely super relevant. I didn't even think to check her sub job. I just assumed it was the same. Other thing too, with recent updates, her TMR is really cool looking. So you could also fashion that onto any of your rod users. Honestly, that's
Nice.
it.
Yeah,
That's not nothing.
I think the
hourglass.
only other source right now I think is Sakura with her like thunder light or whatever, thunder's light.
Mhm.
That reduces lightning and light resistance.
Speaking of Sakura, that was the third unit we're going to talk about. Because I think we sort of glossed over her because we're talking about class matches and other topics in previous casts. So I know Locke, you brought it to my attention that we hadn't talked about her yet. So if you want to kind of talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So I've been using
Fucking
her
70
in-
cost. Sorry.
Yes, that's the first.
I don't know
thing that
who.
I thought of.
I don't know who does these like calculations or thinks that like that's okay. The Halloween Leela's a 70. Like, okay, Mashri's a 70. Eileen's a 70, I think.
Victor.
Tell us,
But Victora is a 70? Like,
tell us how you really feel.
Like, instead of like, I mean, what are the? Oh, it's so insane. I don't understand. Like, where
So
in
I've been
testing? There is no testing. That's what it is, right? But
I've been seeing this comment going on that the next class match has 220 cost for just the units. Is that correct? Yeah, and then someone's like, so you have to bring an MR no matter what. Well, you can bring 370 cost units for 210.
270.
Or you can bring 2
and 80 and 2. Halloween Leela, Sakura, and pick your other one. Like,
there you go. But well, I mean, those 2 types are not very good for the next CM anyway because they're magic. But aside from that, first of all, I think she's great. I think she has one major flaw. I'll go into that a little bit later. But she brings a lot of things that hasn't it doesn't exist until now. Like she brings that. She increases the resistance of light, dark, and lightning by 25% in an AoE 2 circle, which is amazing. So somebody got the jump on me. Sunshine actually got the jump on me with his double quick and Kane team, and Kane came in and and he spent like 15 seconds running around, and I'm wondering what he's doing. And then he finally used his like dragon dive, whatever, or no, he used his LB, and he didn't kill anyone. And I had Frederica, Nivlu, and Sakura. And it's because of that 25% dark buff that they all survived, right? So that don't underestimate that. That's 3 turns, and that's basically
it's huge.
It increases your overall defense by 25%.
Yeah, if you think about light, dark, and lightning, like those are 3 of some of the most relevant resistances for arena. I mean, even for a lot of PvP, because people like the dark evade teams or the holy or.
Right.
All the gunner or the missile duo.
I just want to jump in real fast, and like I'm compelled to mention, like in one of our first episodes, you were like, "What do you think is one of the most undervalued like jobs?" And I was like, "Green Mage for the elemental buffs." I feel so vindicated now. like a main job skill that increases multiple elemental resistances, like.
It's a reverse imperil for like roughly half of the elements in the game.
Yeah, and
I love it.
It's amazing. And also now we have the light ring, which gives you another 20% light, 15% dark. You put that on, like, say, Warrior of Light, and have her buff that up. Now his light resistance is 45, his dark resistance is 40. That's crazy. So and those are two common types that I'm sure you'll
Oh,
see in Arena a
his
lot, in
innate
Guild
negative.
Wars.
Just before
And then,
someone comments
Oh
that.
yeah, right.
and then the
His innate
passives,
negative 10. Yeah,
Providence of whatever.
Providence of Darkness, I'm sure
True.
he has, right? So that's
True.
so you can build these like anti-dark or anti-light tanks now with her buff, and don't forget you can also probably get some resistance from Espers as well.
Tank?
So
Oh. Trigger. No.
um,
Sorry.
so her LB is awesome. There are a lot of units that I can one shot. I think every single dark unit I've come across, I've always one shot with her LB, and it has a range of 6, whereas most of the things are 5. Most cast whatever, and it's instant cast as well. The only the negative thing is, aside from that LB, she has one attack that does instant cast damage, which is called Light Blade, which is S small damage. Everything else has a cast time. And because of her being introduced with the Helena card came shortly after, most of the people I see in Arena has agility up. So usually when I'm casting, either the unit will move out or someone else will come and kill her before her cast goes off. So that's the problem that I run into with her a lot. To kind of negate that, I've been giving her the Helena VC so that she has 3 insta-cast spells with range 5/6, which does pretty good damage because she just does a lot of she has a lot of innate magic, and that Helena card also gives you a lot of magic stat. And then she has +1 move, +1 jump from one of her skills. She has what else does she have? She has a spirit penetration and magic up buff as well. So she's pretty good.
Takes
Like
off Immortal Spirit. That's the first time we've seen that, which is insane.
Yes. Yeah, she takes off. Yeah, and that skill does. I think that skill does more damage than her buff. Sorry, than her LB.
So
Yeah,
amazing.
it's 265 with the upgrade, 220 regular.
Yeah.
That
So it
passive
does.
upgrades.
It does insane damage. The only thing is that has the slowest. Actually, no, it has the second slowest cast time. The first
280.
slowest cast time is her her lightning and light resistant down skill.
Yeah,
That has, I
Thunder's
think,
light.
240.
Wrist up, you mean? Oh no, that
No,
is.
no,
Oh, she has
resist down.
both.
Yeah, she has both. So she has another skill that lowers resistances of lightning
I
and
don't have her
light
either.
by 30%. So I think she's a very cool unit. The only thing is you need to figure out a way to get that cast times right. So I think in like Arena or Guild Battle, it might be a little bit hard to use her just because of that. Because you don't control that, right? Like you can use her LB and then you can give her this to her Helena VC to get 2 more spells into cast. But other than that, it's kind of finicky. But in live battle, I think again you have to get the cast times right. You can give her O and TMR to reduce the cast time as well. But then you're using 1 turn, to do that.
Yeah.
So it takes some finesse, I think, to get her to be used very, very well. But I think she's good. Like I don't have any complaints aside from the cast time.
She has a sure hit too, which is nice.
She's performed very well. Yes, but that's again also the cast time. And usually if I'm playing A teams, they all have very high agility. And that one time, like the times that I can try to kill one of them, somebody else goes before her and usually one shots her.
I mean, it's 2 ticks faster than Holy though, so I mean it is significantly faster, but it's less damage too.
Speaking of
less damage,
shorter range, so I don't think I've really seen any kind of evade Sakuras, but like I was for whatever reason I was looking at one of my Sakura on my team at one point, and she had like over 300 luck, and I was like, what the hell? So like I looked at like the luck like tables or whatever, and apparently she's like number 13. She's higher than like Rhaldor. I mean, obviously higher than Rhaldor is. I mean, he was 22. I mean, that's something, right? She like after like so War Divisions Calc has like this table of like all the stats and stuff, but it's after the board and everything is totaled up. So, but like it's showing her at 218 luck after everything, and she has like that plus 20% luck up on her board. Originally, I thought that was wasted, but I'm like, dang, Sakura has like a bunch of luck now. She doesn't have the ninja sub job that Leela does, but I'm still like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
wonder if she'll
13th
work.
ain't bad. I'm looking at the table now too. That's crazy.
So
Yeah,
I don't know if people
I'm
have
more
really realized that, but I think there might be some kind of wiggle room there.
I'm more interested in the luck stat for the accuracy, to be honest, because most of the time, when the match starts and I'm facing EVA teams, they're all coming at me. If I can use a LB to take them all out at once, because she will one shot them, but she usually doesn't have enough accuracy to one shot them. So I could instead of in the team that I have, instead of using um, Ildira as my accuracy unit, I could use her as my accuracy unit.
Yeah,
But then
definitely.
I have to
Unfortunately,
make
she is
sacrifices.
62nd for Dex, but
Yeah, she has low dex,
I
which is
think maybe that's what kind of compensates for her luck. I didn't really think to check her decks, but I think more and more I think we're seeing evasion teams that don't really need the agility part on there. There's like Secrets of the Heart, Shiva, and then like something.
Yeah.
And like that something could be like accuracy up. And so she could be dodgy and still like can hit relatively well.
Right.
yeah. Well, I mean, then you can give her the Helena VC because that gives accuracy and agility. So and the 2 casts of insta cast spells.
Yeah, she ain't got
So.
shit on Balo's luck though. Oof.
Yeah, she's not going to get the accuracy from like the dark unit accuracy or whatever, but still, like +9 accuracy. I mean, hey,
Something,
forget
yeah.
about
What
it.
you gonna do?
So.
Oh man. These tables are nice. I actually forgot War of the Visions Calc had these. So yeah, it is with like all the 20% from board and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's the functional values. It just you have to check for base values later, if you want to see for things like percent bonuses and such. But yeah, no, this is pretty sweet. So going through all the stats now, like who has the highest defense? Yeah, Warrior of Light's in 4th place with 13. Rhaldor's in 5th with 12. So seems great. Sakura's actually tied for 6th with Balo and Lorenzo because she has base 10 defense out of nowhere.
Yeah, she
Oh, I thought
has
it was
base
8.
10 defense from her mastery for some reason. So with the platinum rod, she not rod, platinum robe, she has like 30 defense, which is pretty decent for a mage.
Very good.
Put Gollum on her, put Leonis Castle on her.
Hey, you heard of
30,
tanky Venera, now
60.
you have tanky
Yeah,
Sakura.
I'll put up to 60, yeah.
Run
Not
her
bad.
with Thancred on his main sub job for like
just,
the Heart of Stone.
So she has Golem, then she does her lightning buff. What's up, Frederica and Nivlu? What you gonna do? Like, my only -5 missile. Come at me, bro. Like, holy moly.
Put Elshra in there for the quicken.
Yeah, right. The light team.
Light team, yep.
I'm down. But yeah, any other thoughts about any of the units we talked about, or yeah, let's not touch the tank topic again. We'll talk about that a bunch, but any other thoughts?
I think Sakura is a unit that it just like if you play around enough with her, I think you can do a lot of fun things. Like I could see her being used in the double cooking team as well, because although her spells take cast times, you can use this spell, or you can just give her a lot of buffs, right? So you can start. You can use for example, Little Leela's 80% up magic stat, and with her movement, so she has 4 movement with a cast of 6. It's a long range, so with double quicken, you can hit the other side of the map with that, right?
Well, one turn she has to cast the move up though, right? And that takes time. So she'd have to do that
Yes.
first and then get.
Yeah, so you have to. Yeah, you have to do that. But yeah, it's I'm still playing around with her. I haven't even stuck to one single build. I've tried with using Gilgamesh as a quickener on my team, and using Nivlu as a pure DPS. I've switched her to the gunner sub job, so she can also give herself 38 at missile attack, and her as the third. And then I've used double gunners with her. I've used another water unit, so I've used Otiara with her to have a lot of CT manipulation. So, but it's a lot of fun to use her. I think she's a very good unit. But,
oh, by the way, one more thought about Rhaldor. He can actually hold Ifrit and feel good about it because he gets the 10 fire attack.
10 fire.
Previously, it was like Seymour. That was it because I didn't have Elda maxed. But
yeah. So speaking of that, kind of my final thoughts are I've been waiting this whole time to talk about the brutal stage that that Rhaldor really excels at. But I don't know. I feel like I say this manage your expectations all the time, right? I say it all the time on stream. I've talked about it enough here. It's about managing your expectations, like about like whatever in this game. And it's a gotcha. It's a good idea to kind of like not, I don't know, uh,
Not get got by the gotcha.
not get got, like not like get hyped up and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But like I've done that too well because I think people have forgotten that like I'm a strike guy hands down. Like have been since like been using Ziza since like first month, that kind of thing. Like I'm a strike guy, and like to be able to see units like Elda, like he's my first UR ever. Um, to see him, to be able to have like these monk sub job units, like be able to do so well on a stage. We haven't seen that since like what was it like the Etra stage or whatever, like the cat claw stage. Like it feels so good, you guys. See like AK surge strikes, like what?
I
These
was
units
you
that have
said
been
hands down. I'm like, if you like fist units, aren't your hands up? Like what?
right. Yeah, so to see this like neglected like sub job that Gumi's just like done dirty for whatever reason. There's no strike attack up 35. There's no strike resist or whatever. Um, I mean, that's kind of the other side of the coin. But yeah, so it's really cool for someone like me who like maybe I have wailed more than some, but to have these units that I haven't really been able. I've been talking about a pummel team since like month 2 or something. I'm like, yeah, Lucia, she's got monk sub job. Put her on the pummel team. It's just like these units that have been kind of like languishing. They've been benched for so long because for various reasons. To see them come out of the shadows to like beat the crap out of like these sanctum monks. I don't know,
Bro,
man.
Rhaldor has the party buff too. That gives 40 strike attack to all of them. Oh yeah, I already came up. I'm working on a Mariluk quicken build
So
with that.
yeah. And I'm like, I was telling people, I was like, the people have been asking me like, what other strike units should we use? And it's like, use this, use this, use this. I'm sure people know enough by now, so I don't really need to list them all out or whatever. But people are like, well, what about Mariluk? And I'm like, talk to Prodigy, he's your man.
She's really
But
bad, but she's kind of fun. She gets a
but yeah,
2-turn store. That's the draw to her.
I just love the fact that somebody was like, well, what about Mariluk? And I'm like, hell yeah.
What
So yeah,
about her?
I'm just really enjoying the stage. Like I'm not, it wasn't too hard for me to optimize the team to just be on auto. Like I already have like a +5 knuckles. I'm working on my second one. It's just kind of the only thing frustrating is the how hard it is to get the wind crysts. We haven't really had an item to build for that. I think that I can
So
remember.
the wind spear, I think, Adam.
When those were wind mega cryst, right?
You can keep
Yes,
talking. I'll
because
look.
the
Yeah, because
wind spear
it's like
was
a
a
yeah, it's a UR, so
UR.
like it's mega
Mhm.
cryst, but I don't think we really had any kind of wins like normal cryst, So yeah, it's just kind of annoying how low of a drop rate those are compared to like how nice of a drop rate the recipes are. So that's kind of like the gate. Oops, it's kind of the gate for me is those little crysts.
I mean, that
But
was the same for the staff as well for me.
yeah,
I was glad once I realized they were halved though, because there were 2 elements, so you only needed like instead of 300 something of one,
yeah,
you needed like 150 of two. I was like, thanks, Gumi, you actually
yeah.
thought about it and were kind for once.
I remember that because like I told you that, and it was like literally like right after I had learned it. So I was just like, we were both like, this is awesome.
Yes, because we've been scarred and beaten for so long. This is what's significant to us. Oh boy. Oh, actually, there might be one thing that gave it to us. I need to check real quick. Okay, nope. I was saying the healing mace might have been, but that was water crystal again.
Yeah, so it's cool. They even like the Kaiju knuckle, you can have like a critical, like the critical knuckle. It's like 25 crit. It's 144 attack. So I can see like if you don't want to, I don't know, quote unquote whale, building
Mariluk.
building like the 180 like assault fist. I mean, it's not as bad as 225 for Golden Blade or whatever, but it's just great seeing like Rhaldor have like 800 plus attack
Yeah.
on top of like all of his buffs and stuff. Um, yeah, it's I'm not gonna say the strike meta has begun, but like dawn of like the
The
strike
option to
units.
even use them
Yeah.
now exists.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't. I guess I can't really complain, but like I wish they would have given monks something more, but like they introduced the pugilist, so might as well go with that, you know?
Oron will have pugilist too, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, before now, Glaciella was the best monk. So
Christmas Ramada. Yeah, so like I like my cheese Ildira LB Keenblade like water team was like Glaciella, Christmas Ramada, and Ildira, and I had them all on sub monk.
wait, you built Ramada too? Christmas
Yeah,
Ramada?
Christmas.
Did
Yeah,
I know this? I guess at one point I had to have known, but I didn't realize you had her like fully
yeah.
built. Damn,
I
son.
kind of randomly got her like in like the second week or something, and had enough time to build her for whatever reason. But yeah, it's been fun, like tooling around in my water team. Sucks to fight lightning units, but other than that, yeah. So it's cool. It's cool to be able to switch from like ninja to monk. You know.
Yeah.
I really like the elemental attack, the Suiton.
Yeah.
That's just cool to just like bypass resistances. You know.
Right.
Anyways,
Yeah, it's great.
getting a little bit far afield from.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, we all, that's what I say. You guys have last thoughts. That's what I'm looking for. So sounds good. But that will wrap us up for the week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have been Let's Talk Tactics. I was Zach Bro.
Dana Boone.
I'm Doc. Take care.
We'll see you next time.